Hello, minions. I had to start this recording over because my wife interrupted me. You deserved them. um, but yeah, let's. This is a big black screen, which is excellent. But this is the Battlefield 4 beta on Xbox 360, and this was my very first match. So I want to give you some impressions. Kind of my first thoughts on the game. As of recording this, I've played probably about 8 games so far, about 6 conquest and about 2 domination. And let's begin by addressing the elephant in the room. This is the Battlefield 4 beta on the Xbox 360, and it is ugly as fuck. I mean, which is to be expected, right? Because the 360 and the PS3 are last gen consoles. They're showing their age, and unlike Battlefield 3, which ran on the Frostbite 2 engine, as I'm switching through some of the options, Battlefield 4 is on the Frostbite 3 engine, so they have to downgrade the graphics on the old consoles to be able to get the game running, and yeah, it's just not ideal. So I'm getting Battlefield 4 for the PS4. Obviously, I played Battlefield 3 on the 360, and got distracted there by me switching through the fire modes as I'm kind of figuring out the controls here. They are slightly different. We'll talk about that, but. Yeah, even where I got Battlefield 3 and Medal of Honor on the 360, so that's where I've got the beta, and it's shown its age, so I can't wait for this to be on PS4. And for those of you playing the beta on the PC, you're the lucky ones, because it looks like it's supposed to on the PS or on the PC and on the 360. It's just these are like PlayStation 2 quality graphics, but it still plays like Battlefield. It still feels really good. It feels very close to Battlefield 3, except for minor changes they made to the controls. But the way the game actually handles feels very familiar, which is a good thing. There I'm knifing, like, what the hell? Yeah, these are the new default controls. Or I guess these were kind of how defaults were before, where you got melee. Although on Battlefield 3, melee was up on the bumpers. At least the way I played it. I don't even remember if that was the default or not. I felt like it was, but now the default is melee on the stick, like Call of Duty, and B is crouch. And you can switch them to veteran, which would be tactical in Call of Duty. But that still leaves grenade on the left bumper, and the right bumper is the new call-out button. So you'll see me pull up battle log, which is what goes on the back or select button now a few times. Just out of habit, but it's actually right bumper now that is spotting, and you can hold it down to get the context-sensitive call-outs if you want them, which is similar to how Battlefield was on PC. So it's kind of a nice little change there, but takes some getting used to, and I'm not the infantry controls are fine. I'm getting used. I'm pretty much used to them by now, and that's all gravy. The vehicle controls I had to switch back. I don't think I use a vehicle in this, so I'll just summarize it real quick. Exploding cover. The vehicle controls have been switched to basically RC vehicle controls. So the 2 sticks operate everything. So on the helicopter, whereas previously left trigger and right trigger operated the throttle, now up and down on the left stick operate the throttle. So the helicopters in Battlefield now operate pretty much exactly like RC helicopters. And planes, they did the same thing, where it's left and right stick completely, and then you can fire with the right trigger. And then they moved countermeasures to left bumper, I believe, and then left trigger is free look, which in Battlefield 3, you had to hold down the back button to do free look, which I didn't have a problem with. I got used to it, and I only really needed it in jets. But if you switch it back to the controls you're familiar with, and I don't know if this is a bug, I haven't really tried it, but countermeasures instead of left bumper is down on the D-pad, and then there is really no free look. That just goes away, which is kind of strange that it just kind of, you lose that ability. But then that puts throttle back on left stick, right stick, which is much more familiar to me. And that's the same thing for air controls air vehicles and ground vehicles. So that's what I did. That's what I like. That's what I'm going to stick with, because especially in the helicopters, to do really precise maneuvering. And again, I could get used to it, but I like having independent control of the throttle, the lift, and being able to, unlift, being able to force your helicopter down without having to. So basically, if I want to yaw left and climb, I would have to push the stick all the way to the top left on the new control system, whereas before I would just have to hold down the right trigger and push the stick all the way left. So it kept those moves isolated. So I could yaw left without having to use the throttle in conjunction. So if I wanted to yaw left and adjust my altitude, now I would have to hold the stick left and move it up and down on the left edge of the controller. And I'm not a big fan of that. So, get used to it how you will. Play how you practice. Countermeasures on down isn't too bad to deal with. Not as convenient as left bumper, but you're not using countermeasures in a way that it really requires that kind of input. Anyway, let's see, what else kind of first impressions to talk about. A lot of my early impressions were the control changes, obviously the graphical fidelity. Vehicles have changed in that how you get in and out of them is no longer B, it's X. And not only is it X, but you have to hold X to get in and out, which is a little strange. And picking up kits now is not X, it's Y. You have to hold Y to pick up kits off the ground, which took me 5-6 games to figure out until I finally saw a kit on the ground, and I basically laid on it and looked at the pop-up on the screen, which isn't as obvious as it was in Battlefield 3. Now it's just kind of white text, which I like because it's understated, but it doesn't jump out, so you can't just kind of glance down and say, oh, it's yellow, so it must be Y. Oh, it's blue, so it must be X. I had to look at it and be like, oh, it's Y. So anyway, that's just some things to keep in mind. The map, the Siege of Shanghai, I think that's what it's called. It's Shanghai, something Shanghai. But it's awesome. I haven't played a whole lot of Domination, but the Conquest is good. Again, I think we're close to the sweet spot on the consoles at about 24 players. I'm pretty sure what it is. Whereas, of course, on PC it'll go up to 64. PS4, of course, will also go up to 64, as will Xbox One. But I think really for me personally, the real sweet spot for Battlefield would be around 32. So I still don't think 24 in the consoles is quite there. I think 32 is probably that sweet spot for me, because anything above 32, when you're pushing 48, 64, things get really fucking crazy for my tastes. And sometimes that's good, especially if you're on some of the larger traditional Battlefield maps. I don't know what's going to be the larger maps in this. There's me pulling up Battle Log because I was trying to spot again with back. But on a really big map, 64 can keep things interesting, but it's still very hectic. 64 players is more of a novelty in Battlefield for me. 32 is more tactical. Personal preference, your mileage may vary. But yeah, since we're kind of on the spawn screen there for a second, if you select the vehicle spawn location with the left stick, you have the ability, after you highlighted that area with the left stick, to move the right stick to select a vehicle to spawn in, which is a little counterintuitive to start out with, but I like it better than the system that Battlefield 3 used, which is where everything's in a list and items just pop into the list and you have to jump in them. In this, even if a vehicle's not there, you can still, I think, highlight over its spot and be ready for it to spawn in, so you don't have to guess for it to jump in, and then if a Humvee spawns in right before the helicopter, then you accidentally jump in the wrong vehicle. But anyway, minor things. Squads are now 5 people instead of 4, which I think is a good addition. The more people in a squad, I think, the better. I think 5's a sweet spot. Here's me testing some destructibility. Obviously, these walls don't destroy. So this is going to be more consistent with Battlefield 3 than it is with Bad Company 2. Just on destructibility, there's going to be good destructibility of cover in areas they want you to go, but in areas they don't want you to go, they're not going to do it. And you hear that rumble, and I kind of heard it, and I was like, I don't know what that is. But the reason I knew that the building here was about to come down is on the 360, my frame rate right there. See how my frame rate is chugging? I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting a lot of lag. I bet the building is coming down. So I just turned and ran towards the building because I was like, lag spike, building must be coming down. Let's go see this. And there it is. The beautiful Battlefield set piece. Not beautiful on the 360. It's still impressive, but ugly as hell. If you have the option, I don't know if you have the option for both. If you've got the PC beta, I'm jealous. I'm happy for you. But the 360 game plays really well. Like I said, plays like Battlefield. It's just not very pretty. Not very pretty at all. And this first game, the other ones I corrected it after this, but this first game I had my brightness tweaked a little high, so it's even a little washed out. I've got obviously my normal color correction on that I put on my YouTube videos here, but so that'll correct it somewhat. But this is also a little more washed out. Here's where I'm figuring out contextual lean. There you can see how your kind of gun jacks out to the side, and I'm like, oh look, leaning. Some of the hitboxes on these windows are kind of fucked up. I couldn't really get over that little ledge, but I'm loving the leaning. Contextual leaning and peeking is awesome. You basically, if you get near a corner, you see your character's gun tilt, and that lets you know that you're in contextual lean. And then when you do left trigger to aim down sights, you'll automatically peek around the corner. So it uses aim down sights as the contextual lean. And if you're crouched behind cover, short cover, and you aim down sights, you will do a peek up over the cover. So it's nice. There's not as much in and out of crouch and scooting around corners, which is a tactic that I really like in Battlefield. And the peek makes that a lot more effective and tactical, in my opinion. So that's a great addition. And, you know, I'm assuming that this is the console interpretation of it, which is good. But it works really well. I like it better than traditional PC controls where you have a completely separate button for lean. The contextual lean is a lot more smooth, in my opinion, and I like it. So I'm going to be using a lot of that. It's really, really an excellent system. What else? What else? There have been changes that I haven't really been able to spend much time with like the defibrillators now have limited numbers of uses, so there's not infinite like medic training. And it looks like the support class has a support pack and an ammo pack and an ammo box, where an ammo pack appears to give you a magazine, and an ammo box I think acts like it traditionally did, but it's a later unlock. From what I saw, because I ran out of ammo for my primary weapon, and I was using my secondary, my pistol, in a game, and that might be one that I might post at some point. But I was out of ammo for my primary. I was using my secondary. A teammate dropped me an ammo pack, not an ammo box, right? And I still had my secondary out. And when I walked over the pack, it instantly disappeared. I heard the click. I got an extra magazine. I got an extra magazine for my pistol, and I switched back to my primary. I was like, good, I got a little bit more ammo. I switched back to my primary, and it had no ammo. So I think when someone drops an ammo pack, I think it gives you a magazine for your current weapon. And not for all the weapons you have. So don't make the mistake I made, where if you have an ammo pack laid down, don't have your secondary out if you want ammo for your primary. I'll need some more experimentation with that. Only did it once. That appears to be the way of it. Here, it's probably not here because this is when I'm support. After I die here, I have a pretty good RPG for the helicopter, you'll see. Still, the bipod LMGs is a good thing. Could use a magnified scope, but love the bipod on LMGs. So good for area suppression and really kind of LMG sniping. But here's where I switch over to engineer kit because I'm tired of that frickin' helicopter tearing us apart. RPGs now have a guiding ability. So if a recon kit uses their binoculars, their targeting, it's a laser rangefinder and a targeter. If they designate a vehicle, you can use the RPGs now to do a lock-on fire, which is obviously unrealistic. Oh wait, here it goes. Boom! Sucker! It's obviously unrealistic, but I like it. It's a good addition. It makes air power a little more vulnerable, which I think is a good thing. But anywho, we'll see how that ends up with balance. There seems to be some weirdness, which we'll talk about later, where if someone locks onto you with an RPG, the helicopters doesn't, or air vehicles don't appear to get a launch notification, meaning it tells you when you're locked on, but not when they fired, which I don't know if that's a bug or a design behavior. I hope it's not a design behavior, because that would suck. But anyway, yeah, those are first impressions. I'm loving it. I can't wait for it on the PS4. I can't wait to get off the 360 because I can tell the game feels good. The level designs are good. The structure, the game-changing events are awesome. I just want it on a system that doesn't look like donkey shit. I've got some more videos. I'll try and start getting rendering and posting more often. And yeah, hopefully I'll get some quality issues ironed out with my microphone, since my microphone on my camera that I previously used for my live commentary is dead. So hopefully this microphone will work out. We'll see. But anyway, later, minions. Bye!